All right. Hello, everyone. We are going to get started right on time. So, wanted to say welcome to the Safe Government Product Launch event. We're really excited to have you all today and to walk you through how we can help accelerate your transformations. My name is Beth Bach. I'm our VP of Go-to-Market Strategy and Operations here at Scaled Agile, and I'll be your host for today's event. So, first, I wanted to say a sincere thank you to all of you that are joining us today live, and for those that might be watching us later on a recording. With a special thanks to our government officials from around the world, our government partners, and our safe professionals that are serving the public sector. So, a few housekeeping items, including the agenda before we get started. First, you're going to hear from if we could advance to the next slide. Thank you. First, you'll hear from our CEO, Steve Matheson, on our commitment to your success in driving government agility. Then, Andrew Sales, our chief methodologist, on the specific areas of focus for the government within our framework. And then finally, the bulk of the content. We'll talk about our continued investment in the product offerings for the government and public center with members of our government team. And then finally, we will have Q&A sessions at our section at the end. So please do include your questions in the Q&A box. If we don't get to it, we will make sure to provide an answer in the follow-up email as well. So with that, I will hand it over to Steve.
Great. Happy to be here. Government is a really exciting space for us. I think there's an enormous amount of opportunity, which we're going to share some of our views today. This will be, I think, an area that most government agencies are going to be working on for a number of years to come. Fair warning, I've not served in the government, but I was an Air Force officer doing space procurement. So I have some firsthand experience and know enough to be dangerous. As we get into this, I like the tagline, Agile is a modern way of working, and particularly for us, we put together Lean and Agile, and so this is an opportunity to get more, faster, better results and lower cost. So it's kind of you don't always get that in life where you get better stuff for less money, and that is generally the way Agile works. So. What we're finding across the world is legacy ways of working, just can't keep pace with the speed of change. A lot of governments around the world, have systems that have been in place for a long time and are mainframe based, mini computer based, need to sort of migrate them anyway. And doing that in a lean agile way is just an opportunity to scale in a much more dramatic, more efficient way. But it requires thinking about things differently. So it's a different process and it's a different way of working. And so, that's why we're here to help share with you how to do that. So in a world that's moving fast, SAFE helps governments move faster. Looking at the next one, okay, good. I had a little bit of double there. We're doing a lot of work, all around the world with a range of different parts of the government. So, congratulations for those of you who are already on this journey, and for those of you who may not be, you should be able to look at this list and understand that you're not doing it alone. This is not some thing that's only being done in certain parts of the government or certain parts of the world. This is a proven framework for government, and we're excited about it. Agile obviously makes sense, but SAFE is by far the most widely adopted commercial framework, and we've adapted it to make sure it really fits the needs of government agencies, from regular agencies like CMS to the warfighting parts of governments, which we're doing in a number of places around the world. So it works, and it works really well. And the fun thing is we have 400 plus partners. We have over 2 million people we've trained around the world. So there's a real body of partners and people that you can tap to go faster and make this work. Next one, perfect. Uh, so this one, we are committed to this. We have at the end of last year, we decided that this was important enough. And while agile and safe are applicable for government and non-government, it's different, and all of you know that. And it's different enough that we decided it made sense to have a dedicated government team to invest in some government-specific training materials, thought leadership, et cetera, to really make sure we had specific, usable, right out of the box information for you, stories, materials that help you be effective faster, because we're in the agile business, which is about going faster and trying to drive to value more quickly. So we have this the team, the tailored framework, and some custom enablement, all designed to try and help this work more easily for you. And now I'm handing over to Andrew Sales, who's our chief methodologist.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. And just to reiterate, really great to be here today to see so many people on the call. I'm really excited to share some of the new resources and changes to the framework that we've been working on, all focused specifically on making it easier to bring it into the government sector. As Steve mentioned, chief methodologist here at Scaled Agile, so my role is really to manage and lead the development of the framework. And I'm just going to highlight a few things, kind of themes that have guided the way before I hand it over to the team who have done all the work to build the offerings that you're going to see today. So on this slide, we really have, I think, some of the pressures that we've been hearing from you directly, and some of the reasons why we're seeing this move to more lean and agile ways of working inside the government space. So things like improved citizen and service user satisfaction, we know that lean and agile methods are designed to make sure they make that connection to the user early in the development process and continually validate with them to make sure we're always maintaining that alignment throughout the development steps. Things like responsiveness to change, no matter how good we think we are or we'd like to be at making sure we uncover everything at the beginning of projects, there's always things that emerge that offer real opportunities and advantages that we can take hold of. And of course, the use of lean and agile allows us to take those changes, turn them into opportunities, and ultimately deliver better outcomes. And then, of course, it goes without saying the idea of regular delivery. Lean and agile is built on iterations and incremental value delivery. And what we're seeing with the agencies that have adopted lean and agile ways of working is not only can they deliver value sooner and more often, but they're also able to accelerate feedback and make sure that the services they do provide are meeting the needs of the citizens and those that are using them. Now, one thing that I wanted to call out is that in addition to the things that you saw there, that SAFE is really well suited to help you address, I think there's some very specific outcomes that are particular to the Scaled Agile framework that I want to mention. And one is, of course, when we think about SAFE, it's really designed to scale across both strategy and execution. And that becomes a key benefit when we think about the importance of maintaining the mission alignment between the strategy that we're setting and the work that we're doing to execute. In terms of things like reducing risk, SAFE is built around the ability to break down work into small increments, but also has things like compliance built in to the processes to ensure we're maintaining compliance and adherence to regulation along the way. And of course, the final piece is around collaboration and coordinating work across multiple teams, specialists, individual personnel. Everything we've done in the Scaled Agile framework over many years has been to really solve that scaling problem of how do we coordinate work across many, many individuals and teams. So I thought it would be nice today, before I hand it over, just to share a few success stories of where we're seeing government agencies applying SAFE around the globe. And a really nice one to start is the work of the FBI, who have been using SAFE specifically in their National Threat Operations Center. And that agency has the mission to make sure they can share critical safety information with law enforcement partners all around the world. They're using SAFE to directly accelerate the value delivery, and they're seeing great results. We saw in March last year that the US Army put in place a directive that any IT development must be done using a lean and agile framework. And over in Europe, we've seen in the Nordics that actually 30% of all the public sector work is being done using SAFE. And then finally, all the way over in New Zealand, I had a great opportunity to meet the folks at the Land Information Agency who are doing some incredible work using SAFE to modernize 20-year-old systems that help to manage, care for, and develop the land in that beautiful country. So just want to set up a few things before I hand it to the government team. Steve put up a great slide there showing some critical logos and the important work they've been doing over the years. It's always been the case that we've seen adoption of SAFE in the government sector, but I think previously we've left it to our partners in those agencies to adapt the framework to their particular context. And the message today is really clear. We want to be a government-first framework. So you're going to hear today that in the guidance that we produce, in things like the big picture, in the courses and training that we develop, in the opportunities to develop skills, learning on the job, continuous development, all of this is done with a government-first lens, making sure that it fits directly into your context and speaks your specific language. So with that, I'm really excited to hand it over first, I think, to Cynthia, who's going to talk a little bit about the work that's been going on and set us up for what we're going to see today.
Well, thank you, Andrew. It's very exciting to see so many people that are joining us today. I think we have representation from about 41 different agencies that represent 7 different countries that have registered to find out more information about the new products that we are providing. And I think, as Steve and Andrew had said, governments today are facing some very unique challenges. The need to be able to work faster, to deliver outcomes to their citizens and their military personnel with more rapid delivery and more effective, and to do that probably with fewer resources. And so we have really been thinking about some of the products that can be provided to help you with this challenge. So what you're going to hear from us today will be members of our government team. Stosh and Travis will be joining me in providing an overview of some of our new products. You are going to hear about some new courses that we have developed. You'll hear about our new Leading Safe in Government course, which again is following the same Leading Safe class, but is very tailored towards government. And you're also going to hear about our new products under Agile contracting and procurement. We have found that the Agile contracts was one of the most requested guidance from our partners and from government to help them move in this new way of working. You're also going to see some example requests for proposals and vendor response templates that we've developed to help you in learning on how to write effective contracts and effective responses. And you will also hear about a new workshop that we have that is measuring the mission benefits. How do we identify the metrics that let us know how well our modernization effort is going? You will also hear of some things that are coming up in the very near future. We have a new ebook that will be available, as well as our DoD Cool program that we are working with. Together, all of these things that we're doing, these innovations and these tactical guidance, are designed to help government accelerate the performance, build in resiliency, and meet their mission success. So with that, let's get started. With this, I'm going to hand this over to my colleague, Travis Moore at Scaled Agile, who is a strategic advisor.
So thank you, Cynthia. I just have to say, I am really excited about the new content that we're presenting to you today. I spent 22 years in the military working on procurement, delivery, and all facets. I've got to work with the federal, state, and local governments. And I'll tell you, if I had access to the products that we're about to show you here, my life would have been so much easier. So really excited to just share this with you. I want to start with Leading Safe for Government. And this is the critical first step, right? When we're trying to figure out what should we be doing? What should a modernization effort look like? And so you'll know that this has been adapted from the Leading Safe course. And so Leading Safe for Government, why did we reskin or retool this course? Well, this course translates Agile principles into the language of mission delivery, accountability, and public service. And it's going to empower leaders to act decisively and transform responsibility and serve more effectively. And so the original Leading Safe course was designed with more of a commercial enterprise in mind, using terms like time to market and customer value and competitive advantage. Well, the first thing that we did here is we used more government language and more government context. So this Leading Safe for Government course is going to use terms like instead of time to market, it becomes readiness to support citizens and warfighters. Products become capabilities, and customer satisfaction becomes mission outcomes and public impact. And we also took into consideration that the government is not a monolith, right? International or whether it's US based. So this course is going to acknowledge different government roles. And it's going to make clear the intent behind those safe roles and responsibilities for clarity on the flow of information and value through your delivery pipelines. Another thing that we did is we focused that greater engagement leads to better retention. So using that familiar language and real world references is going to boost the ability for you to learn and retain that information with confidence to better understand lean agile thinking inside of our government roles and responsibilities. You'll gain confidence by applying SAFE in the context of statutes and contracting requirements. And Cynthia is going to talk about that more in detail in just a moment. But these practices are going to be more sticky and sustainable after the class. And as a result, we've aligned SAFE to those government missions. So this revamped course is going to help leaders align SAFE with your public missions, lead agile transformations within the policy and compliance constraints of the government, and conduct that agile planning aligned to program goals and mandates. And then we're going to measure value through that mission impact and stewardship of public funds. And so some of the other things that we've done is we've looked at some of the key challenges here. And this course has been designed for key government roles, right? Helping government executives and senior leaders understand the terminology and lead the modernization effort. For program and project managers, for procurement and contracting professionals, for IT, the acquisition, the engineering leaders. We thought about all of these roles, which are crucial to successfully modernizing how government agencies deliver value. And this course is going to allow you to focus in and really gain your bearing and understand how to best use the framework to accomplish your goals. And so before the team members here get into this, Leading Safe for Government has the same certification as the Leading Safe. So you don't have to worry about, is this a different certification? It holds the same weight. And so it will be recognized and understood that as a Safe for Government certified professional, you will also have the same clout as our SA certification. And so there's no worry there. You'll be in those roles and able to just show your expertise in the Agile community. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Cynthia for a moment to talk about our procurement and Agile contracting.
Thank you, Travis. I'm going to talk a little bit about some of our new course offerings that we have in a space that you would probably not see as exciting as it really truly is. We have a new course offering that is Safe Agile Contracting for Government. And the reason for the development of this course is that we have seen that many of the RFPs, requests for proposals, or the request for a response that comes from government tends to ask for Agile for what the technical team might be able to execute, but they then use more traditional project management, risk management, or quality management requests in the RFP. And when you have a mismatch of some parts of the contract being executed in a lean and agile way and other parts of it in a more traditional prescriptive way, it creates a bit of tension, and it's very difficult for contractors who want to be able to execute SAFE in all of its capability to do it very effectively. So this Agile Contracting from Government course was developed and designed with that in mind. It's been a joy to work on it with a cohort of both government and partners to develop it. And it can be applied for any government, not just the US. The examples that we provide are for our international government and state and local audiences as well. So it provides us a framework for how we can look at a contract and put in the type of things that make for successful implementation. For example, we often see that RFPs have very strict high-level requirements, well-defined, very prescriptive. And when we are living in a time of disruption in technology, we know the solution that we might be building may change as we are evolving it based on new technologies or based on feedback from our users, how well they perceive the solution. And your contract needs to be flexible and adaptive to be able to accommodate that. So the focus on this contracting course is that it is very tactical. We begin with a RFP that actually comes from the U.S. government that is for a platform request. And we go through and identify what are the challenges in that contract and what are some mitigation strategies. So the folks that are involved in this training, which it can be procurement specialists, it can also be partners that are have business and development groups or growth solution architects. They learn how to be able to construct the language so that it aligns with the way that teams want to be able to execute Agile at scale. It also includes different types of deliverables and very importantly, being able to have the ability to ask for just-in-time or on-demand training to support the competencies that government will need to be able to manage and execute this work. This is designed to be a half-day workshop. Again, it's you don't have to have a great deal of Scaled Agile experience, but having a general understanding of Agile and some lean principles would be helpful. It is very tactical. About half of the course is instruction, and the other half is actually doing activities to strengthen the learning. You can find more about the new Safe Agile Contracting course by visiting our course page, and there's a QR code in the corner for you if you want to be able to download some additional information. And let's go to the next slide, please. So in the Agile Contracting course, we look at an example RFP that has some challenges, and we work through what the mitigation strategies for that, what would good look like as far as language, and provide you an example. Well, we decided to take this just a step further. We decided to give you not only one example, but two examples of both an RFP that the government might create, and then what would be the vendor response to that RFP. We chose to look at two highly constrained environments. One is a cloud migration, demonstrating that you can use SAFe for non-software applications in which there are some very strict standards that need to be met for continuous ATO and also to be able to meet all the security requirements. We also developed a second RFP and vendor response for an Army software project that has a lot of compliance requirements for AI as well as continuous delivery in field and getting updates to systems in the field. And one thing I would say is that this includes language that will help you learn how to develop the RFP and how to respond to it, but it doesn't have a lot of deep technical information. It is more about the framework for how you would manage the work. If you are a vendor and you are bidding on work that is similar to this helps increase your P-win, and then you bring your past performance and your technical expertise to the solution. But it's a guide that can be used for both government and for vendors. And you can find more about this on the QR code that you see on the screen, which gets you to our Safe Government Procurement document. And now we are going to learn a little bit more about how you would measure the mission benefits of SAFe from Travis.
So thank you, Cynthia. Um, this is near and dear to my heart again. When we talk about the modernization effort and what we're doing, the first step obviously is we have to learn how to speak the same language. And then the next question is, once we are all speaking the same language, how do we measure success? Right? We've been doing this for X amount of time. And how do we know if we're moving on the right path? Well, this workshop is going to provide a clear path for everyone involved in this modernization effort to understand the benefits with respect to your shared mission. So, in the government context, we're not trying to beat competitors. We're trying to deliver on our public mission, whether it's clean water or clean air or secure networks or public health, right? SAFE has to serve by these high level objectives. So, the modernization effort is only successful if it helps us serve citizens better and faster and steward public funds responsibly. So, again, the question is, how do we know if we're hitting the mark? Well, this workshop is going to ensure that leaders are able to tell the story. And the first thing that we are going to do is we're going to use OKRs, objectives and key results, to link work to mission outcomes. And here we highlight in this workshop the use of these OKRs to trace how the work aligns to mission goals. So, for example, let's say a cybersecurity team feature might tie directly to a key result under secure our networks. Those OKRs are going to give us a clear line of sight from the team activities to national or agency level priorities. And so the developers, the people that are doing the bottom line work will be able to understand where my work fits in the bigger picture, in the big goal of things. Another thing that we are going to focus on in this workshop is how do we align those safe metrics with government value? Well, in the traditional business, metrics don't always apply. So, we reframe value in terms of things like readiness. Are the systems online? Are they accessible? Right? The impact. Have we improved our response time or citizen engagement? We look at things like compliance. Are we audit ready and policy aligned? We look at delivery predictability. Are we delivering what we said when we said we would deliver? And so, in the government speak of things, we want to ensure that we are collecting all of the information that's going to allow us to tell the story in terms that everyone can understand. And so, we want to tell that modernization story very clearly. It's not just about dashboards. It's about communicating progress in mission terms. And this workshop is going to help us move from, like, the death by PowerPoint model, where we're sitting and just doing these long briefings and spending half of time that we could be doing development by creating these PowerPoint slides. Instead, we're going to give you some tools so that you can create your own dynamic role-based reporting through some central portal or a tool set. You'll be able to answer leadership's key questions, right? What have we delivered? How does this align with our mission? Where are we going next? And by coming to this workshop, we'll provide you, as you can see, this transformation canvas allows us to really set out and understand what we're trying to do so that we can tell a better story of where we're going. Next, we're going to build leadership trust through transparency. And this workshop emphasizes incremental delivery and transparency, which builds leadership confidence over time, right? The reward for working hard and delivering on time is you get more work. And so we want to make sure that these modernization efforts that once felt abstract or delayed, they become tangible and trackable. Yes, I can do this. I can see the story from where I sit inside of the enterprise. And so leaders appreciate a clear, concise story. I know I did when I was in the military. And so we'll give you tips and tricks on how do you deliver that effectively. And so how do we continue to build that leadership through transparency? And lastly, we want to inspire with our reporting, not just inform. And so when your reports connect delivery to real world impact, it doesn't just inform leadership, it inspires commitment. And that's what this workshop is going to do. Our job isn't just reporting outputs, it's showing the modernization progress, why it matters, why leaders at every level should care and should support the work that we're doing. So by the end of this workshop, we have a shift in mindset, which changes the question from Are we agile? To are we making a difference? And then we're able to tell that story and show just how we're making a difference. And so, next slide. I'm going to move into some coming soon items. And so I'm going to turn this over to Cynthia for just a moment, who's going to tell us about some of the great things that are coming in the pipeline.
I feel like I should be on the QVC channel. Like, wait, there's more. So we do have things that we are currently working on that will be targeted to be delivered in just the next month. And the first one that I have the pleasure to talk about is the Safe Explained for Government ebook. You may recall that earlier this year we had released the new Safe Explained ebook. I think it was introduced at our summit in Sorrento, and we've received quite a bit of feedback about that this is a very straightforward, targeted message to understand the basics of SAFE. Well, all that you've heard earlier today about our focus on government is that we've taken this book and we've also provided in the context of a government setting. Again, it is very I use the term government agnostic. It's for international governments, state and local governments, as well as our federal and DoD. This is targeted to be available in June, and we look forward to hearing your feedback from that. So with that, I'm going to also turn this back over to Travis to talk a little bit about one of our new initiatives.
All right, so this is also very exciting, the DoD Cool Credential. And so DoD Cool, for those of you that may not know, stands for Credentialing Opportunities Online. And it's a Department of Defense initiative that helps service members, DoD civilians, and veterans earn professional credentials that are aligned with military roles. Some are useful for civilian employment once you leave the government and they are funded or reimbursed by the Department of Defense. And so civilians and veterans get to earn safe certifications that will strengthen the government's agility today. And it's going to accelerate successful transitions tomorrow. And so we talked a little bit about what it is. So why do we need this, right? Now, unfortunately, many of my counterparts in the government or the military, they've heard of Lean or Agile, they've heard of SAFE, but they don't have access to training. Well, that all changes this fall, okay? Because SAFE is now going to be included in the DoD Cool program, making it easier than ever for all service members to earn those industry recognized Agile certifications, enhance mission performance during their time in service, and prepare for the leadership roles in government or private sector after separation. So think about leading SAFE, SAFE Scrum Master, and other role-based certifications that are recognized across industries. The government is going to be able to utilize military and DoD individuals in order to do that. And so this is going to improve readiness, right, by building that technical and leadership skill within the ranks. It's going to support the agile transformations across the Department of Defense and federal agencies. And it helps military personnel, who I'm very passionate about, as well as our DoD civilians, speak that common and agile language. It's going to improve cross-functional collaboration, right? From the procurement individual to the soldier or airman or sailor that is sitting at a desk supporting the warfighter. It's going to foster a lean agile mindset that we need for digital modernization, innovation, and the rapid delivery of capabilities. Really quickly, when I was in the military wearing the uniform, it took us 24 months from ideation to be able to deliver something to our counterparts. And that was too long then. We started a rapid delivery shop, which took that 24 months down to 18 months. That was still way too long. By implementing these tools, these workshops, we can do much better than that. And we can move, as Cynthia, my counterpart, says, at the speed of need so that service members and such can utilize these benefits and get delivery out of the door very quickly. And lastly, I'll just say to this about the cool, our service members and our veterans have a pathway to high demand for the private sector roles in things like program management, product delivery, IT, and systems engineering. So I personally benefited from this DoD Cool, and it's going to build a bridge to the civilian workforce, where Agile is the standard operating model in many sectors. And DoD Cool is going to allow us to do that. And so, without further ado, I'm going to turn this over to Stash, who's going to tell you how to benefit from a lot of the things that we talked about today.
Well, thank you so much. And it's really, I have to say, a privilege to be the anchor leg in this relay as we walk through all this new material. And I just want to start, you can go to the next slide. I just want to start by saying that, we have presented to you here what amounts to a snapshot in time. We've been working on government offerings for some while now, and we've been introducing them to you over time. This obviously today we've introduced a whole bunch of new things that we've presented in a single package. And then Cynthia and Travis also gave you insight into what's coming next. So this is a dynamic process. We're still working to find new ways to serve this market. And I just kind of wanted to make that point before we move into the rest of this. So what's really great is we have created a new government-centric product offering. It's all inclusive of the material that has been presented so far, the stuff that's available. It's in a single package that includes all the classes and the microcerts. And I'll just say, you can go to the next slide, please. I'll just say that uh, the pricing and other issues around that are available by contacting government at scaledagile.com. That's the easiest way to get it. In response to the large international successes that we've been having, a number of organizations around the world, from Brazil to Berlin, to the Netherlands, to New Zealand and Canberra and Australia, we've been getting an enormous pull from governments to learn more about how to implement scaled agile practices in their environments. And so to support that, what we're doing is we're working with our local partners in those countries to deliver the message that you've seen here today out to those countries. And I want to point out that we're continuing to work on finding other ways to deliver this content and this capability to you and to your clients. We're working on with a number of other countries now on their version of DoD Cool. So, that comes under different names in every country. But we're working, with our partners in those localities to find ways to deliver this to you as well. So there's a lot still to come, and we are thrilled to be here today giving you this message of all the different places that we're going and the things that we're doing with this new product offering. With that, we've gone through this quickly so that we would reserve a little bit of time for Q&A, and I'll hand it over to you, Beth, to facilitate that.
Awesome. Thank you, Stash, and thank you, everyone. I'm very proud of us for sticking to our time boxes. That's a feat in and of itself. And we've had some really active questions, some that we have answered in the moment, but we'll retouch on a few of those. But I'm going to start going through the list. Cynthia and Travis, I'll probably ask each of you to jump in initially, and then we can go from there. So there was a couple of questions around DevSecOps CI/CD pipelines. So the first one was from Robert. The ultimate speed to market is DevSecOps CI/CD pipelines. Speed matters. What does this new product do to promote CI/CD pipeline installation?
So I'll take the first response, and I'm sure there'll be others that'll join me.
Thanks.
Specifically in the Agile contracting and then the RFP section, we give you examples of how to be able to use that DevSecOps and continuous delivery to say that there should be something that is either a learning event or that there is a deployment into a staging or a field environment. At the minimum, it should be within 2 weeks. So if you have a 2-week iteration, there should be that effectively comes into play. We also talk about building in a definition of done for compliance, that is an iterative thing that should happen rather than waiting for that to happen at the end or close to rolling into production. When you are incorporating a little bit of compliance, a little bit of security, all of those things into your iteration and part of your deployment that is happening on a continuous basis, you are going to be able to deliver value to, again, your citizens or your military personnel much faster and continuously. So automating as much as you can makes that getting to definition of done all the faster. And with that, you're able to be more effective with the monies that are used to build the solution.
Fantastic. Thank you. And then a couple questions around what leading safe addresses. So I'm going to combine a couple questions into one. So does leading safe for government address how to implement and execute the safe framework for a government agency that does fully support product management over project management? And then just a secondary part to that, does it also touch on software delivery when you have a split between federal and contractor teams?
Well, I'll take the first few questions, and hopefully Travis will
Great.
join me on that as well. Yes, we do realize, and first I will say that when we speak of government, government is just a broad term. We have so many different departments and municipalities, and the way that public sector may talk about what their needs are is quite different than we see in defense. But one thing that we do hear is that the word product is not something that really resonates with government very well, but certainly solutions or services or capabilities are things that we hear. So we've tried to adjust the activities and the things that you were learning in the class around this language. We also make sure that the activities are such that if you have a government experience, we want you to bring that into the activities, make it local and contextualized to your audience that you have. So that is, what we've done, and certainly you'll see that in the big picture. Some of the language that we have changed again is more towards that meeting that solution intent and how to be able to do that iteratively.
Yeah, and I would just like to add here, Cynthia, that one of the great things is we can work together to understand the constraints of your particular enterprise and how you work in the government. For instance, when we talk about some of the workshops or the PI planning event, we are open to collaborating with you to get something that kind of works where you work, right? We know that Alice and Geek Books are very famous and familiar to the community. And for some of you, that may not serve your special need on how you work. And so the content has been redesigned to allow you to work and use these PI planning sessions or other exercises to insert your flavor so that it makes retention and what you're doing a little easier to understand and work with.
And one thing I failed to answer, there was a question about a hybrid environment where you have government and
Mm.
contractors working together. Please look at the RFP examples. We have specifically giving you guidance on what are roles that the government might hold. Maybe they're in the role of product owner. We've seen some agencies have the RTE role held by government, but there's a lot of different hybrid ways to be able to craft that. But we provide examples for that in the RFPs and in the Agile contracting class, so that there is both contractor and government working side by side towards the solution.
Fantastic. Thank you. Um, there was a couple questions we answered, but I wanted to make sure that we touched on very specifically. So there was a few around, international presence and reach. So non-US based. So Cynthia, Travis, or Stash, if you wanted to touch on that a little bit. And then also for our DoD Cool, we are starting that from a US perspective, but maybe just talk about how we might think about that outside of the US as well going forward.
So
Who wants to start? Stash?
I guess
Cool.
I'll start. Yeah, and I'll be really brief. But yeah, so as I mentioned in my own wrap up, there's a significant pull from a number of governments around the world, as well as from state and local governments here in the United States, asking us to explain more about how our practices can be implemented and where they can get help with that implementation. And so our strategy has been to engage with our partners around the world and around the country to provide that implementation and knowledge about SAFE to their clients. So we're in places, just to rattle off a few, the Netherlands, Germany, the UK, France, Brazil, New Zealand, Australia. I mean, it's a long list of countries, and of course, certainly Canada, and then a number of United States states such as California, and even municipalities such as the municipality of Burbank. So we have a large spectrum of different types of governments and governments from around the world that are actively implementing safe practices in conjunction with our partners. I'll leave it there for Cynthia or Travis.
So I think as Sasha was going through the list of countries and states, I'm going through my mind too. And as I mentioned that when we first introduced the product line, there are many of you that are on this call today. I think there was about, my last count, there were 41, 42 different agencies that represent both at the local level as well as the federal level and international. And finding the right language that works for you is something that we're very focused on. We want to make sure that we do not distance your audience by having it too US based. And so the content has been created with that in mind. And we also want to make sure that those of you who are teaching these courses or leading these workshops, that you bring in your government experience to the learners. It's very important that if you have expertise that is, and I just saw going by on the chat from Nigeria, then when we're doing an activity around how does this apply within your setting, you bring that story into the fold. So I think we've done what we can to make it as generic as possible, yet very specific to the challenges that we see that are almost common across all governments. There's challenges with leadership. There's challenges with contracts. There's challenges with what are the right measures to put in place that are outcome focused or focused on our citizens. How do we measure that success?
And I just want to add one small thing. The role of the SAFE strategic advisor. We do have advisors that cover all of our territories around the globe. So if you have any input or questions, you can send them to me, right? travis.moore@scaledagile.com. And I'll make sure that we talk about this with the other strategic advisors and maybe bring you in to have some conversations about specifics to your government or your agency where you could use a little assistance.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you all for that. So let's see. We've got quite a few more here. So there's a question about who's able to teach these government courses. Can they be taught by people with no relevant experience, or will Scaled Agile make sure that they have a background in government? Who wants to grab that one?
I can take that one very quickly. You do need
Cool.
some government experience to teach these courses. It does require you to acknowledge that you have government experience before you are able to have access to the courses. And it means if you are going to be able to influence your government learners, they do need to trust that you understand the world in which they work in.
Absolutely. And one thing I might just add in there too, Cynthia, is we did leading up to this live event with all of you, we did actually have two specific enablement sessions that was open to our government focused partners as well. So we have been giving them education that they need leading up to this as well. All right, let's see. A question from Phil. And Andy, this might be initially one for you to answer. Would it be possible to get an add-on for the ASPC course that would allow us to leverage some of the new government assets if we were to deliver advanced SPC in a government context?
Yeah, maybe I can answer it in a couple of ways. It's a great question. Thank you, Phil. So number one is we're already seeing people bring together specifically the ASPC course with some additional workshops. They're seeing the benefit of running those combined. And there's no reason why you couldn't do that with some of the new workshops around the agile contracting in government or the roles and responsibilities. But the second thing is, obviously, we're not going to stop at leading safe. And myself and Cynthia, Stosh, and Travis are already starting to think about where do we need to go next. Implementing SAFE is obviously an ideal candidate to start to bring the same government-specific context to that course. And then after that, Phil, we'll make sure we keep you up to date on the roadmap for those courses. Finally, though, and I just want to mention this, I think it was Travis who mentioned the PI planning simulation. We're really keen that when you're teaching these courses, whether it's in the government arena or inside organizations, that they are really resonating with the individuals that you're teaching to. So we're doing a lot of work internally to really try and relax some of the policies. If you need to make changes, Phil, for the specific audience, please get in touch. And I assure you that we'll more than support you to make sure you can adjust them to be applicable for those that you're teaching. Anything else, Cynthia or Travis or Stosh on that?
I think I've said a few times, but it's worth reiterating. All the activities and the examples that we have provided in all of the courses are meant for you to be able to bring your experience and tailor it towards the needs of your learners.
And I think this would be a good place to reiterate. That's where the government experience comes in. This is not just, oh, I know how to teach leading safe, so I can teach leading safe for government. There are requirements that will be levied for what we are terming the GSPCT, and that with that, we want to make sure that you are able to translate your government experience and time into the course. So we want you to look at the evaluations and the simulations and all of those and use your expertise to craft those and make it a better experience for the learners in the government setting.
All right, great, thank you. There was another question about safe roles and alignment with military roles. How are the safe roles aligned with military roles, and could you give some examples?
I'll take that. And so those in the military will understand that the military is actually very well set up for safe and lean agile practices. And I wouldn't call it a problem, but I would say what we're trying to understand is how do the roles that already exist, how do they fit into this framework and way of working? And there's not always a one-to-one correct answer. And what I love is the responsibilities wheels that we have, right? They're not all inclusive. This is all that you can do, but it helps us to understand who is responsible for what, and we can look at the roles in the military and understand, and I'll just use this as an example. Let's think about your battalion XO, the executive officer who is responsible for things like understanding how many skill sets you have, making sure that the battalions are able to accomplish their duties, right? We can look at that role and think of something like a value stream art identification workshop, which is going to allow that XO to say, here are the skill sets that I need for us to be able to function and do our jobs. And that might be something that somebody with our experience, we can tie those together and understand that these responsibilities suit these roles. So that was a very long answer to say that there may not be a one-to-one perfect match or component, but by understanding the responsibilities in these roles, we can look at those government positions, whether they're GS positions or contractor positions, and understand who needs to be involved in what process.
I just have to plug because we have developed a workshop which you haven't heard too much about today, but we have a micro-credential that is specifically around agile roles and responsibilities in government and walks through the exact same process that Travis was just describing. What are the roles that are needed? What are some additional roles that we don't see necessarily in agile but are required in government? And what are the things that they should start doing, as well as what are the things that they should stop doing? And so at the end of that work session, you have a roadmap that gives you guidance on who would be in those roles and what are the things that they should be doing and how they should be communicating.
Awesome, fantastic. All right, I'm going to keep going through a few of these. From Kevin, is there a government user group that continuously engages the community about existing safe implementations and issues, concerns, stories from the field? Cynthia, do you want to answer that one?
Oh my gosh, we have such an active community. First, I'd like to say the best place for you to network and find your peers is going to be at the Save for Government event, which we have every year. We bring in both government as well as our partners and our vendors. As you saw in Stash's presentation, we have that upcoming in September. We usually hold that in Washington, D.C. And that's the best place for you to be able to learn and meet your cohorts. But we also, as Travis said, we have a group of advisors, and if you reach out to us, we are very well connected with our partners and the many other different governance groups. If you want to get involved in helping to peer review things or just get more information, just reach out to government@scaledagile.com, and then we'll find what is the right governance group that we can invite you to so that you can be a member of that team to learn about what the new initiatives are.
Yeah, and I'll just tie on to what Cynthia said. In the run up to the rescheduled Safe for Government event, we're also holding a monthly webinar where we'll be featuring different speakers talking about government issues and government implementations of the Scaled Agile framework. So that's another element of the community that is underway. And I would just say in general, I just again repeat actually what Cynthia said, which is, to get connected, just do government@scaledagile.com. Most of the people on this call are on that alias. We'll pick it up and engage you as would be appropriate for what your request is.
Awesome. Okay, I'm going to wrap us up with one more question. If we did not get to your question specifically, we will absolutely include it as part of the follow-up. Um, all right, I am going to take the last one. Actually, came in through the chat. Um, how is SAFE utilized in the pre-contract arena? In DoD, there's a significant amount of requirements identifying and steps that go on before it gets to the contracting team. That is not clearly identified and safe. Is that something that we could pick up?
I think there's the opportunity for you is during the request for information stage. When the government is doing their research and development, they're open to learn from you. They often will have industry days. They will also do, as I said, an RFI. And you should be able to take some of the material that we've provided and again, with your differentiator added to it is to help guide and influence so that way, when the RFP comes out, it reflects what your best way of being able to work in government and be able to get the outcomes that they are looking for.
Fantastic. Well, thank you everyone for all of your questions, your participation. It's really exciting to see that you're all just as excited about everything that we talked about today. As mentioned earlier, you will receive a follow-up email. It will include a recording of the webinar, and we'll have that in a couple of different formats, both through Zoom as well as YouTube for everyone to be able to access. We'll include links to everything we had today and then also responses to the questions that we did not get to. And as was mentioned multiple times, if you have more discussions you'd like to have outside of this webinar, you can always email the government team, government@scaledagile.com. Thank you, everyone. Hope you have a great rest of your day and evening.